Hello dear readers and subscribers. The careers of successful artists are all built on successful art exhibitions. They are able to create a real buzz around their work and their oeuvre in general. However, especially for artists who are organizing their own exhibition, this can be quite intimidating, often overwhelming endeavor marked by doubt, as there are also many unwritten rules about exhibiting your art in the art world, with some artists making some very common but detrimental mistakes for the rest of their career, in which the exhibition was only an opportunity to showcase their work, perhaps make a sale, but it didn't do anything else for the rest of their career. And we want to make sure that every exhibition you do or organize brings you closer to your next exhibition, perhaps in a more prestigious venue. As a result, in this video, we're going to provide you a step-by-step guide explaining all the best practices and unwritten rules when it comes to exhibiting for success in the art world. As a result, in this video, we're going to talk about all the best practices about exhibiting your art or organizing your own exhibition, and simply tell you all the things that you need to know to avoid those common mistakes and also to get the most out of your exhibition. The very first step of your exhibition is the exhibition context. What type of exhibition do you want to create? This exhibition context is not only determining if your exhibition will be a solo show, a two-person show, or a group exhibition, but also the overall concept, the overarching story that ties everything together that is on display. A solo show is of course fantastic, it can be a true milestone in your career and all the attention goes to you and your work. However, especially when organizing your own exhibition and perhaps being somewhat limited in terms of budget, it can also be interesting to work together with other artists. By doing so, not only can you split the cost, for instance, to have better space, a much more professional looking gallery space, but you can also have more people coming to the show because not only your contacts will be coming, but also the contacts of other people. When it comes to the overall exhibition concept, there needs to be a title that explains kind of that exhibition concept, or simply title to refer to the show. And this is a very common mistake that we see with self-hosted exhibitions or even exhibitions by galleries that aren't really serious galleries, is that there are no titles for the shows and that there is no overall concept behind the exhibition, because a successful exhibition or a powerful one is one that has a clear vision. So make sure to provide a title and also a short text describing this exhibition concept. Titles are always written down by first mentioning the name of the artist and then the title afterwards, or with a group exhibition, the title first and then a recital of the artists that are being exhibited. Step 2 is finding the right venue, and this in terms of the type of venue, how the venue looks, and also the location of the venue. When it comes to finding the right venue, everything is determined by your budget, of course. And don't spend thousands of dollars on your exhibition space if it's just your very first show and that you do not have that many contacts yet. But this also kind of depends on your financial situation, of course. However, be aware that your first exhibition is predominantly a tryout. We want to gain experience. We want to photograph our works in an ideal setting. So most importantly is that it kind of remains a little bit affordable, so that we might have the chance of turning a profit. And also that the exhibition space looks really good. And what I mean with really good is that it should look almost exactly how all serious art galleries are looking. Meaning a white space, preferably with a grey concrete or a warm wooden floor, nice white walls, maybe some high ceilings. It doesn't have to be the biggest space if you can't afford it, but it needs to have this aesthetic. Finding and using unconventional locations like warehouses or outdoor spaces can also be an option, but it will make a less professional impression. And galleries won't be able to identify with those spaces or see how your work would do in a typical gallery space. And that's why we recommend you to also look for that gallery space aesthetic. There is a very good reason why galleries prefer these sterile and white environments, because they really want to focus on the art and only the art. Because the context makes a difference, and we want to make sure that we give our work the context it deserves. We need to respect art, our art, and also the viewing experience. As a result, if you allow your work to be exhibited in old sheds and tents and some outdoor markets, then this is of course a major red flag for art galleries. So it is advised to avoid these venues at all times, or when you do it very discreetly. So we want to look for a space that looks like an actual art gallery, and if budget is tight, you can clean up your studio space, have 2 nice white walls for instance, and paint your floor and be done with it. Or perhaps you can rent a venue via, for instance, a storefront, and go for those spaces that are designated for exhibitions actually. Or perhaps there are some local initiatives, for instance in the library or the city hall. You need to be aware that the space really matters, because this is what will last the pictures of your work in that space. For instance, it's better to rent a high-end looking space for just a day or a weekend instead of renting one that doesn't look that good for 4 weeks, for instance. During this exhibition, you can photograph your work as it is meant to be seen and used in an artistic context. If this artistic context looks like a top-notch gallery, people will look at your work and you as a person as a top-notch artist. This is the power of appearances, and I want you to be aware of this power and use it to your advantage. So don't use it to fool people into believing you are more established as an artist than you actually are, but show them what standards you pursue for your art and what your standards are as an artist. This is something we illustrated with some empirical evidence in another video about the power of appearances for artists. So if you're confused about this topic, make sure to watch that video next. Now, when it comes to the location of the venue, this is also rather important. Of course, the budget will be important as well. Being in a city center is of course very useful to attract new eyeballs. However, if you're not able to afford it, then it is better to go for a nice looking space that is a little bit more remotely located. Step 3, determining your duration and the timing of the show. Here, simply, most often art exhibitions run for, let's say, 4 weeks, but with self-hosted exhibitions it's perfectly fine if they just run a couple of days. The advantages of a short duration for the exhibition is that many people will be there at the same time instead of it has been spread across numerous weeks, and the people that want to come will come. So don't stress about it if it's just for 1 weekend or a couple of days. Even more, having a nicely filled space is important for the perception of success of the exhibition, so it can actually be a benefit. Even more, during this exhibition and prior to opening your doors, you can take numerous installation views of the exhibition and share it in the days, weeks, or even months after the show to stretch that buzz and spotlight on your work beyond the closing day by sharing it on social media and with your mailing list. So by doing so, we can get the most out of your budget despite a short duration of the exhibition. Of course, it is self-explanatory to avoid scheduling your shows during holidays, and perhaps you could even schedule it during a current art event in your city, for instance, an ongoing fair or art weekend, or ideally, perhaps in Venice during the Venice Biennale. Step 4 are the selected works, and here there are 2 very common mistakes. The first one is wanting to show too much work. You're very eager to show your work and everything you've created the past years. You want to include it in the show. However, your best pieces will drown in the more mediocre ones. So I really want you to kill your darlings and really set the standard very high once more. You can always show some works that didn't make the cut to be on display in the back room or in your studio later on, or simply include them in your catalog, which is something we're going to talk about a little bit later. Also very important, and this is the second most common mistake, is that you have to carefully curate your selection, because the selection needs to make sense. If you simply select a bunch of work that you've created over the years and there is no overarching story, there's nothing that clearly reflects that vision and that exhibition concept, then the visitor won't be entirely sure what they have seen. They have seen a bunch of works, but the overall message or the overall power won't be that convincing. Whereas if you have a very clear exhibition concept and all the different works are part of a strong series and the works start to support each other, then it becomes a lot more meaningful visiting experience, and the impact of the works will be a lot greater as well. And this is exactly why, for instance, in all top art galleries, when there is a solo show, that they present a single series of works. And by doing so, you can also show to the art world that you are aware of this concept and that you also take it seriously and that you're able to deliver a mature series of work for a mature exhibition, a convincing exhibition. Up next, step 5 is the presentation of the artworks. And here, the very first mistake is closely connected to the previous chapter. It's once more wanting to show too much art. Yes, you're excited to show your work, but when you show too much, your visitors are blinded. So for an ideal art experience, the work needs to be able to breathe. And this is of course determined by both the artwork and the space. As a result, one must consider the flow of the exhibition and how viewers will move through the space. Each piece should have enough room to appreciate individually and as a part of the whole. The main reason why people want to share so much work is also because it's an exhibition and we want to sell. And we think if we show more works, we can sell more works. However, that is not the case. In fact, you're a lot more likely to sell more works when you show less works, ironically. By going for a scarce and professional hanging like we see in the top-notch art galleries with a lot of wall space being still available, we can create an elevated sense of value per artwork. This is also, of course, the law of offer and demand. If there is a tremendous offer, then the perception of the price will be lower, whereas if there is just a limited offer, the perception of the value will be a lot higher. The show will look a lot more professional and the viewing experience will be a lot better as well. So by presenting a limited offer, the perception of the value of the art and the viewing experience goes up. Studies have also shown that one of the main reasons why buyers do not proceed to purchasing an artwork is by indecision, because the offer is too great, because it is oversaturated. So it can be a good move to have just a limited offer to select from. And especially this sense of urgency and scarcity will only increase when a few works are already being sold. Then there is real urgency to purchase an artwork as well. So there's no point trying to show 20 works and only selling 2, because you'll never sell those 20 works anyway. Instead, you can exhibit 6 works and sell 3. And if they see that half is being sold, it's been a successful show, and you might sell another one and another one. You might think, okay, but what do we do with the remaining artworks? Well, you can simply include them in your catalog with available works and have them somewhere nearby. So if people who are visiting the show or browsing through the catalog and they see some works that they like but they aren't on display, they can ask for it and they can see them in private, which gives them also a sense of exclusivity in a certain way, because they are the only ones who get to see this work in the flesh. So don't think too much about the sales, think about the quality of the exhibition first, and the sales will follow. Don't be focused on the short-term income, think long-term, and don't be too commercial. And this is something, ironically, most top galleries are being blamed to be, that they do not care about the art and the viewing experience and that they are too commercial. However, if we compare the booth of a top-notch art gallery, then you'll see that the viewing experience is really, really good with a limited selection that really makes sense. And on the other hand, if you go to a self-hosted art fair by many independent artists, then we will see that the booths are entirely scattered. And of course, I get it. These booths are expensive. You're there to sell. However, when you stick to your artistic goals and be unapologetically about this, then you will also see results, and perhaps even better results, but also being able to enter the higher realms of the art world. Other very common mistakes all boil down to a simple principle here, is trying to showcase and present your works as they do in the top-notch galleries. This means you never hang your works on cords on the wall. You must always hang them directly on the wall, for instance by using 2 nails or screws perfectly level to hang your works. Never exhibit paintings on an easel or on the floor. Place sculptures on a pedestal, a nice white box can be sufficient, and show drawings framed. Don't put artwork labels on the art or on the wall. This is not done in art galleries and in the primary art market in general, and is only useful in an educational museum context. So never put prices on the wall either. Of course, to conclude, the details matter. Make sure everything is hanging level. Try to have an ideal viewing height. Most often, people tend to hang their works a bit too high. And make sure to have the works hanging on a line, either at the top, the bottom, or in the middle. Or go for a more experimental approach. And with this experimental approach, even though there are so many unwritten rules when it comes to exhibiting your work and that there is a clear aesthetic, artists are still encouraged and free to be creative when it comes to exhibiting their work, as so many artists have done in the past. It can be a real added value to the show if there is a more playful and experimental presentation of your artwork. However, this is most often a kind of hit or miss scenario, and the good artists always get it right. And if you're not really, if you don't have the right understanding of what can be done and what can work, it's often very tricky and very risky to go for a more experimental approach, because if it doesn't come off, it looks quite bad most often. So be aware of this risk and only do it if you have a really, really good taste for what is experimental and playful, and you have seen numerous other examples of experimental and playful installations. For instance, from a small selection of good examples here, Richard Gobain's illusionist paintings that are being placed in a space that is deceivingly unfinished, or Cornelia Baltes, who paints the walls in the same colors and shapes as her tableaus, or Marcel Zama's playful gallery wall filled with small pieces reminiscent to the salons of the 19th century. Amy Bravo, who covered the entire floor of the exhibition space of the gallery space to create a new atmosphere. Or David Weishar, who placed a mirrored layer on the floor of an art fair booth, as if you're walking onto water. And this is also this reflection that comes back in the exhibited paintings. Or Orgal Balema's experimental hanging of paintings very high and very low in the gallery space. Step 6 are documents and some print work. There are a few documents that you should have when exhibiting, and some of them are very important prior to the show to promote it, and others are expected to be there in the very exhibition space. This is once more how the best art galleries do it, how top-notch art galleries are doing it. There is a consensus here. All the art galleries are kind of doing the same thing, and if you do this as well, you show that you understand why and what the top art galleries do, and that you want to live up to those standards. First and foremost is having a poster of your show. This is of course very important prior to your exhibition to promote it via social media or in your email marketing. Make sure that the design is in line with the aesthetic identity of the art world, going for a black font such as Helvetica Neue or Times New Roman even, on a white background and perhaps including an image or white font on top of the image. Don't make the design too complicated, and if you're not very good at this, perhaps you could hire a graphic designer here. Be professional, don't overcomplicate things, and make sure to share the most important data, of course. The artist, the title of the show, the date of the show, and also the location, or perhaps when there is the opening or where they can find more information, let's say on your website. Feel free to have a look at the posters of some renowned art galleries, and with the poster it's not really necessary to print it and to hang it in a public space, because this will be more work and more cost than there will be rewards for it. So you can simply share it online, social media, Instagram in particular, and via your email marketing. Up next we have flyers or invitation flyers, and this is something that we can print and send out more personally to the people that we really want to be there. For instance, your collectors. Once more, you want to go for a minimal design. This can kind of be a variation of your poster, but for instance on the front that we have just the image, then on the backs we have the information on a white background. You can also share this flyer in your email marketing or on Instagram, or perhaps also direct messaging this flyer to your contacts on Instagram. Sending them by post is also terrific, so definitely consider those options as well. Now we arrive at some documents that are very important during the exhibition, starting with the press release. In fact, this document is both a must-have before and during the exhibition, because it is a text that consists of all the information about the show, the title, the artist, the date, the location, and also a curatorial text explaining the exhibition concept, the artist's work, and possibly some individual works or series to provide more context and information, a biographic text about the artist, and an about text about the gallery, if this is of course applicable, and the contact details for more information. So this document can be used prior to the show to promote it and, for instance, to send it out to your press contacts. However, it is also very important that this document is available in the exhibition space. Simply have a stack of A4s with this press release, and when they walk in, they can take a piece of paper, they can read it when they walk through the gallery show, and they can even take it home with them. The second document is the catalog with available works, meaning or the exhibited works. As we're not allowed to put prices and labels on the wall, the catalog with available works is where they can find all the information. And this catalog is in fact almost exactly the same catalog as the one that we provide with our CAI tools and templates. So feel free to have a look at all our career tools for artists. And the only thing that I would change here is simply replace or add the title of the exhibition to the cover, and then perhaps also the press release with the exhibition concept on the second page. Other information that these catalogs include, as the template includes, is the resume of the artist, and then of course the artworks, including the metadata and prices. The great thing with these catalogs here as well is that you can also add works that are not on display, perhaps at the back of the catalog. You can also work with a checklist. A checklist is also like a press release, a single piece of paper that is there in the exhibition space next to the press releases, in which we have all thumbnails of the artworks, including their metadata and prices. So they can also take a piece of paper, walk through the exhibition, so they have the titles at hand, and they can also take it home with them, which isn't possible, of course, with the catalog. To conclude, one last document that you can and should have in your exhibition space is simply a piece of paper for your mailing list, where people can write down their name and email address to stay in the loop, and these contacts who are interested and perhaps did not purchase a work that very exhibition, but that might purchase a work in the foreseeable future. So definitely make sure to have such a document ready as well. Step 7, we're almost there, and in the midst of all these preparations, one would almost forget that we also have to invite people and promote our exhibition. Today, the most efficient way to promote your show is simply via your email marketing and via Instagram. Of course, you could use a PR agency, but this is incredibly expensive, and all other efforts are more work than we see rewards for it. So let's start with Instagram networking first. You want to make sure that you have your poster and flyer ready 4 weeks before the opening day of the show, and that you communicate your exhibition with the poster 4 weeks before the opening. Throughout these 4 weeks, you can share some teasers, some details of some artworks, for instance, in your stories and in your post, and every time mentioning the opening day of your show and the exhibition title to create a sense of anticipation for the exhibition. Make sure in the week prior to the opening to post a story or a post every single day to remind them even more, with one very clear call to action: visit our exhibition. And you could also make it even more appealing to visit the show by mentioning that drinks will be provided during the opening, which is especially useful or appealing for your friends, for instance, who are not entirely into art, but they do want to support you. So you can make it a festive opening, and they will fill up the gallery space, which will be good for the perception of the success of the opening and the show as well. When it comes to your email marketing, first you need to manage your contacts professionally in a central contact list. This is also something that we provide, such a contact list, a template, and that we have also dedicated complete video to. So definitely have a look at that article, tool, and video as well. In this contact list, we want to manage our contacts in different groups. We want to have a separate group and approach for collectors, for other galleries, for press, for artist colleagues, and finally for your family and friends. With this central contact list, we want to approach them by mail and dedicate a personalized mail to every single category. For instance, for collectors, you can invite them to a preview, or you can send them a preview with exhibition views and already giving them, for instance, the prices of the works. With other galleries, you can simply inform and invite them. For the press, you can send the press release and ask for press coverage and what terms they have for press coverage. For other artists, colleagues, and for friends and family, a regular invitation would be sufficient. With these email marketings, don't use these mailing campaigns software such as MailChimp or a built-in newsletter feature of your website. Just go for a plain text mail with an attachment. They feel a lot more personal, and these more corporate email marketing campaigns are very often they end up in your spam folder, or we simply click through them because we already receive so many of them. Now, step 8, the opening day and the exhibition itself. Congratulations, the exhibition concept and title are clear. You have found a professional looking venue, the selection of works is carefully curated, and they are presented and installed in a manner that is in line with the best art galleries of the world. You have prepared your poster, flyer, press release, available works catalog, checklist, mailing list, and you promoted the exhibition strongly via emails and social media. So now it is time for the grand opening. And this opening event sets the tone for the show. The goal is to create a welcoming and engaging atmosphere, or you could even organize an opening speech by an art critic or one of your collectors. Engage with everyone who visits the exhibition. Say hello to every single person, even the ones that you do not know yet. And let them know that you are there at their complete disposal to answer any further questions. You really want to document the opening and the rest of the exhibition, so when the space is filled with people, make sure to share this in your stories and to save those photographs, and more importantly, take high-end exhibition views when the gallery space is empty. We really need those installation views to support our applications to look more professional, to have on our website, to share professional posts in our Instagram feed, etc., etc. So this is a perfect opportunity to do so. It will elevate your credibility instantly. Once the exhibition is over, the work doesn't stop just yet. You want to follow up with the attendees or people who were interested during the show. You also really need to manage your expectations. If some days are very quiet, especially during the week or the days after the opening, that is perfectly normal. If you sell nothing at all, once more, don't be too hard on yourself. Unfortunately, it happens, and it is part of the first steps of most artists. Remember the experience you've gained, the pictures you can use to professionalize your profile, the new resume entry, other things that you have gained, such as contacts, leads for future sales, press exposure, etc. It's all part of the process to become that successful artist in the long term and to enter the art world. If you have any further questions, make sure to ask them in the comments. I will also include the links to all the resources that I mentioned throughout this video in the pinned comment and in the description. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Feel free to watch our video on gatekeeping and subjectivity in the art world next. Support us on Patreon and please consider subscribing to stay posted for more contemporary art. Bye.